Yep, it's another one of those seasons. Last season was surprisingly good, with the best of the best, Dororo and Rise of the Shield Hero continuing into this season. Most of this season's new offerings aren't worth touching. They're mostly generic harem shows, generic sports shows, and the overall majority are sequel seasons to shows that are either several seasons in or from years ago. But there are a few memorable shows that you might not be watching because of the genre, and it's your duty as an anime fan to watch them. I'm thinking of one in particular, and I think it's the best of season, except maybe One Punch Man Season 2. And it's a strong maybe, which goes to show just how good Carol and Tuesday is. If you ever force yourself to watch one show that is out of your typical genre, make it Carol and Tuesday. It's basically K-On! But with good music, set in the world of Cowboy Bebop. Once again proving my theory that a good intro makes a good show, both the intro and outro are amazing, with a unique art style that's different from the, albeit less unique but still unique, art style of the show itself. Carol is a runaway rich girl with nothing but her guitar and a lack of common knowledge, and Tuesday is a struggling street performer who can't hold a minimum wage job because of her attitude. Instantaneously become friends and perform a duet and try to go professional. In a world where all entertainment is generated by AI and algorithms, this is a monumental task. But viral videos are still a thing, and they soon get some attention from a washed-out producer who has an eye for talent. Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba, or as it's called on some sites, Blade of Demon Destruction, is essentially about fighting zombies with swords, with the zombies being demons who eat people and have a sort of power level based on how many humans they've eaten. The most obvious case is the main character Tanjiro's sister being bitten by one, so she's sort of a hybrid who's always asleep, but the scent of blood makes her dangerous. Yet she also shows a bit of emotion and acts in a protective manner towards her brother. In an effort to find a cure for her while getting revenge for his family, Tanjiro trains to become a demon hunter. The artwork is great, and it has some of the best sword fighting scenes I've seen in all of anime. And Tanjiro has to work for his abilities, which is something I haven't seen for a while. A lot of shows start with the main character mysteriously getting a ton of power and refining it, but here he's at best an above-average swordsman that can't touch anything on the level of the demons before he trains. I think he spends something like a year and a half on the mountain training, so the montage does it little justice. If you like battles before music, this is the show of the season for you.
毎日毎日山下りを繰り返すと随分罠を避けられるようになってきた。体力が向上したのと鼻が前よりも鋭く匂いを捉えるようになったからだ。だけど罠の難易度はどんどん上がる。
There's a lot of nostalgia going around with the rest of the best, such as Robo Hachi. It reminds me of Outlaw Star, a show from the late 90s that probably only old people like myself and huge anime fans have heard about, as it was overshadowed by Cowboy Bebop, which came out at around the same time. Take that as a recommendation. There are two main characters, Robbie, who is a sucker for get-rich-quick schemes and is being chased by a debt collector to regain his massive loans, and Hachi, who, after one run-in with Robbie, decided to team up with him just because he was an unpredictable weirdo and he seemed fun to get chased around the galaxy with. Oh god, I've been trying to figure out what the title means since it started airing, but it's literally just their names right next to each other, and I'm a huge idiot. Their ship also has two smaller ships that launch and combine into a giant robot because why not? It usually gets them into more trouble than they were trying to get out of, and hilarity ensues. It's a bit like Space Dandy, but less weird and more accidentally competent. You know, a girl who chants love at the bound of this world seems like a Steins Gate ripoff, but you're wrong! It's actually the other way around. Based on one of the most acclaimed visual novels of all time from 1996, the show is possibly the most out-of-nowhere plot twists I've ever seen in one story. Also an impressive amount of incest, but that will probably be cut from the anime because it also has a long story. When I first played it, what I thought was in the epilogue was just the halfway point, so it'll be interesting to see how they handle that. The animation may look like it's from the late 90s, but the story saves it despite some wasted time in the first couple episodes, which could have been put to much better use, especially knowing how much they have to squeeze in the first place. I just hope they don't do what they did with Steins Gate Zero and ignore entire arcs, even though there was a bunch of foreshadowing and they were pretty important. Right now, Yuno is in a state where I kind of feel bad about one of my favorite visual novels getting a bad adaptation, but it's slowly getting better with each episode as mysteries are getting revealed, albeit way too slowly. The remake of the visual novel, which is an all-ages version, is hitting the States sometime this year, and it sold incredibly well in Japan for a visual novel, so I'm betting it's better than the anime. Fun fact, the flowchart of choices can be seen in the end credits, and unlike most games where you go down a path towards a certain ending, you go down every path to get items and information, then travel back to points where you need those, like the blue keycard mentioned early on in the anime. Take this as a recommendation to check out the visual novel whenever it's released this year. Fruits Basket is celebrating its 20th anniversary with a remake of the old anime. I think it left off on a cliffhanger, but I watched it like 15 years ago. God, I'm old, so I don't remember it that well. I do remember that it didn't look nearly as good as this version, and after looking at the older one a bit, the pacing's better. If you don't know about it, the gist is that our random main character girl Toru stumbles her way onto the grounds of a very wealthy family, and sets up a tent to live in since her extended family is renovating their house and she can't stay with them. The landowners, a branch of the eccentric for a reason Soma family, take her in during a storm and let her live there until the renovations are complete. The reason they're eccentric? If any of them are hugged by a member of the opposite sex, they turn into one of the animals of the zodiac, plus the bonus cat. Hilarity and heartwarmingness ensue. Fairy Gone, unlike its title, which invokes fun pranks and a whimsical world, is a post-World War I type of setting filled with betrayal and shifting alliances, as formal experimental soldiers have to find purpose in a world for people bred to fight. A combination of Full Metal Alchemist and Bloodborne, there's more great sword combat here working in tandem with rage-filled giant beast fights. There's a sense that nobody who wants to fight except those who want revenge, and you find yourself sometimes rooting for the bad guys, or at least questioning if they are the bad guys. These are great themes to build a story on, and this is a show that makes you think and cheer for the fights at the same time. Every season has its isekais, but this season was surprisingly short. I guess the isekai van actually followed the rules this time around. Ah, no, there it is! Manjaes' grandson, or wise man's grandchild, starts with the main character dying and getting resurrected in Isekai land, and it's never mentioned again. Okay, maybe it'll come up later, who knows. Anyway, it's basically Harry Potter fanfiction, with the main character reborn as Shin Wulford, raised by Dumbledore and McGonagall, so he's incredibly overpowered to the point that even they can't believe it, and they have to send him to Hogwarts to teach him some common sense. Unfortunately, he doesn't have any. Obvious similarities inside, it's worth watching, and the magic combat scenes are pretty cool. I'd like to say it's interesting to see how he handles each problem of the week, but it's always a combination of you need to do X somehow, and then he overpowers X through a combination of being randomly overpowered and having a thorough education in sword and sorcery. Suspend your disbelief, and it's an okay show. Nothing that'll be remembered in 6 months, but entertaining nonetheless. Psychic Quartet is an isekai crossover that gets isekai'd. The gangs from Konosuba, ReZero, Overlord, and Tanya the Evil all get sent to a normal Japanese school classroom and are forced to sit in class. It's a 10-minute show, and that's exactly the right time. Watching them realize that the same thing happened to the Japanese characters there's one episode, so high school slice of life weird antics are well timed out and it's planned very nicely. You don't need to know all the shows featured, but I'd say you need at least 2 of them or jokes will start going over your head. A lot of them are pretty blunt too, so it doesn't feel like an inside joke. I only had seen 2 of the shows going in, and after watching all of one and a few episodes of the other, I don't feel like I gained much. It's also the least canon thing ever made, so if you're a fan of either of these shows, you aren't missing anything essential by not watching. It's definitely worth killing a few minutes. And that's the best of spring 2019, sadly. There were a few other shows with potential, but I gave up on them after nothing really happened. If you want to look into the edge of the dumpster fire, Midnight Occult Civil Servants, Stop This Sound, and Shometsu Toshi all have interesting premises, but I stopped watching for some reason or another. Shometsu Toshi is at least pretty original and almost made the list, but it wasn't just quite interesting enough. Thanks for watching. I'd love it if you hit like, share this with your fellow anime nerds, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Until next time, I'll see you around.